So 2.1 of this is let's define Middos. In Lashon HaKodesh, you always want to go to the root of everything because Lashon HaKodesh, biblical Hebrew, created reality. So what's the root of Middos? Middah. What does Middah mean? Middah has two meanings. It means character and it also means measure. Rebbeinu Shalom, Master of the Universe, in English you've got a separate word for measure and a separate word for character. Why do you have one word, Middah, and it has two seemingly different meanings, measure and character? So the obvious answer, the Chavetz Chaim points this out, we see what's the true measure of a human being? Size of their body, weight, height? That's the measure of a human being? I don't think so. How much money they've made in their lifetime? How many chickens and meat and vegetables they consumed in their lifetime? I don't think so. How famous they were and how many degrees they've got, how many letters at the end of their name, how much money they made. What's the true measure of a human being? Oh, character. Oh, the real measure of a human being is not how many PhDs, how many letters, corporate position, size of my home, car that I drive or zip code I live in. Those are nice and good reasons to be more grateful for the gifts Hashem has blessed us with, but that's not the measure of a human being. The measure of a human being is character, and character takes place where? In your pinky, elbow, kneecap, stomach? Oh, mind. It's manifest through how your attitude is towards other people, to yourself. The very name of a Jew, there's several, but one of them is Yehudi and the other one is Yisrael. And both of them encapsulate the essence of what we are. A Yehudi, from the word Haidah, means admit. And it also means thank you, because we're here to admit, I owe you, Hashem, a tremendous gratitude for everything. So, Middos is part of our essence. In the words of Rabbi Victor Miller, Tov lahodos Lashem, from David HaMelech, it's not just good advice. Tov lahodos Lashem means it's the only good, is to be honest with Hashem. Lahodos from the word vidoy, and also means grateful. It's good to be honest, grateful with Hashem. That's the only good that there is, to enjoy life because we're grateful. The other name, Yisrael, is actually made up of two words, Yashar and Kel. Hashem is straight, just, righteous in everything he does. And our behavior, Middos, our behavior is meant to be a Kiddush Hashem, whereby others will see, both Jews and Gentiles, oh, this is God's nation. There has to be a God for a nation to behave this way, so righteous, and that's a Kiddush Hashem. So let's move now to understand, in the definition of what Middah means, character, and that's the true measure of a human being, we can understand a lot of things. I'm just going to touch on one or two, probably one. When it comes to Rebbe Kiva and his 24,000 students who all died in a horrific plague, and Chazal, our sages, identified the cause was Shaloi Nizharu, they weren't careful, bekavod chavereihem, with the honor, the dignity, the kavod of their friends. Shaloi Nizharu is from Lashon Zaya. Zaya means shine, giving light. Zehirus, we usually translate as careful, which is not a bad translation, it's just that's the product of a process. The process of Zehirus is clarification. Lehizaher means to be clear in oneself. And because of that clarity, you're careful about the item you're clear about. So if it's clear to you that driving dangerously could lead to the death of oneself, Has v'Shalom, and others, you'll be careful. That's the toitzah, that's the product of the process. But the process is the zehira, the clarity you start with. That's what zehirus really means. They weren't clear about what? Covered. Ooh, that's a biggie. What's covered? Well, we translate it as dignity, honor, a person's self-respect. It comes from three-letter root kaved. Kaved means liver or heavy. Same idea. Because the heaviest single organ in the entire body for its size is the liver, saturated with blood. And kaved means heavy, because the kavod of another person is something you shouldn't take lightly. The opposite of kavod is kal. Kavod rosh is referring to when a person takes something seriously. Kalos rosh means this item should be taken seriously, but I'm treating it with lightheadedness. I'm not treating it with the heavy due respect that it deserves. Oh, so shelo hizharu, they were not clear and therefore weren't careful about how important it is to have kavod for their friends. And this really opens up a whole very simple formula. You can't be aware of something that you haven't paid attention to. I can't be aware of how much of a complainer I am unless I'm paying attention to what's coming out of my mouth because of what I'm thinking. Maybe someone who I respect a lot, who might say in a very kind, gentle, pleasant way, Rieti, I think you're not maybe paying attention to how much you complain. I don't think you want to be a complainer. And then when he helps me see that, I start paying more attention, and then I become aware. Awareness is always a product of paying attention. In Lashon HaKodesh, paying attention is simas lev. Lev really most of the time means thought. Your mind is focused, and that's what creates awareness. How do we get children? This is going to be the main focus when we get to part 3, which is the applications, the practical applications. How do we help a child pay attention to what they're thinking? And therefore, the totzah of that will be their awareness of how they use their body, how they use their mouth, how they have in their tone of voice accusation, or they're oversensitive, etc. So that's the direction we're going in, but I'm just right now sharing the mechanics of what's really inside Middos. Middos is all about paying attention to my character. Now let's understand, what do Chazal mean when they say, or you and I say about another person, oh, she's got wonderful middos. She's a ba'alat midot. He's a ba'al midot tovot. What do we mean by that? A ba'al middos means literally an owner of measures. That's what it means. Baal is a master, owner. They have control, bailas. So when we say someone's a ba'al middos, what we really mean by that is they are in control of their thoughts. And they are measuring, midah, measure, they are measuring how much attention to give any situation. Oh, this is serious, I have to pay attention. This is boring, I'll pay attention to something else. We're constantly weighing in our minds. A Baal Middos is someone who's going to pay attention. He's at a wedding, so he's going to smile, and he's going to participate in the dancing to give to the Chatan and the Kala, the Chasan and Kala, simcha. There's so many areas over here, which we're going to touch on some of them, only about 50 or 60 actually. So we as teachers come super aware of how many mitzvahs in the Torah are referring to Middos Tovos. How I've got to have good measures in how I think, and therefore what's going to come out because of that. And it touches everything. It touches everything. How we eat, how we dress, how we interact with other people, how we think about ourselves, how we talk about other people or not talk. Everything comes from Middos. And a Baal Middos is someone who's aware and able to be in control of what they're thinking. So 2.2 of this is, can Middos be taught? And the answer is no. Essentially can't be taught. You're talking about how do you get a child to think compassion, empathy, listening, understanding, love, respect, giving, generous-hearted, forgiveness. There's just so many middos, we're going to touch on a lot of them. Simcha. All these really have to do with their mindset, but how do you teach that to a child? And the answer is, it can't really be taught. It can only be learned through role modeling. You could learn about other people's lives, tzaddikim, through sipurei tzaddikim, stories of righteous individuals that will inspire you or a child to want to emulate them. That is absolutely true. And one can study Sifrei Musa, But the real Mussar Sefer is the person you role model from when you see how they control their anger. Patience, serenity, listening, empathy, giving, generosity, simchas achayim. When you are in the presence of a genuine Talmud Chacham, whose taichai, kabarai, his outside and inside are congruent, they're in alignment, you learn from him how to be a better husband, wife, father, mother, rebbe, mora, co-worker, boss, employee. It's all in role modeling. The mitzvah of Talmud Torah is identified in the pasuk Vishinantam Levanecha. Vishinantam Levanecha sadly is mistranslated as teach your children. There is no such word there. Vishinantam comes, according to Chazal, Gemara and Kedushin, Shinun means sharpen, Shinun means repeat. The two are really different ingredients of the same recipe. And what's that recipe? How do you learn Torah? And the answer is, by reviewing the information again and again, you sharpen your mind to be able to then go to the next level of recognizing differences and similarities from one text to another, and you sharpen your mind that way. So the next part of this is understanding that Vishinantam Levanecha really means to role model to your children, because of the two-letter root Vishinantam of Shinun is Shein. We quoted the Stipler claiming that the Shein is your teeth. Teeth to your children is the literal translation of the words Vishinantam. Teach teeth them to your children, not teach. Teeth them. What do you mean teeth them? Smile. Your kids should see your teeth. Vishinantam Levanecha, the word tooth is deliberately chosen by Kadosh Baruch Hu because it's that part of the body that does the chewing of the food that enables the outsider to look at you and see, do you savor the taste of the food you're eating? Are you enjoying what you're doing? You're paying attention. You're fully aware of your taste buds being really stimulated by this delicious dark chocolate swirling across your mouth. Oh, and the onlooker, your children, can see you love Hashem's mitzvahs. Vishinantam Levanecha. How do you learn Torah in front of your kids? How excited are you to teach Hashem's Torah? How excited are you when you make a bracha of Asher Yatzah, coming out the bathroom, and your students can see you? I'm not talking about it's a performance to the kids. I'm talking about what's real to you. How enthusiastic are you, excited are you about davening, about learning, about mitzvahs? How excited are you that the children get it themselves as opposed to you deliver and they're impressed with my performance? No. It's about how do I help this child grow step by step from where he is now to the next step and not beyond, because he can't reach that yet. So I'm going to get him only to the next incremental level. Oh, it's all about Vishinantam. How do you role model to children? How do you savor the taste? How do you enjoy learning? How do you enjoy Hashem's simchas achayim? That is what the kids are picking up on all the time. How we respond to their sense of injustice. Rebbe, it's not fair. How I just push it off with the wave of a hand and show that I don't care, or that his mind is not of any interest to me, or his opinion has no effect on my decision. No, you've lost recess. But Rebbe, he started. I saw what I saw, you lost recess. But Rebbe, okay, that's two recesses you've lost. And there's no discussion to understand what's behind the pain that the child is experiencing, and to understand that. And so when we get to the applications, we're going to talk about role modeling in advance for the children. Lots and lots of scenarios of how to get along with each other when things go wrong. How do you make shalom? How do you perform the mitzvah of Torah? How do you reconcile? We're going to cover that. Be'ezrat Hashem, that's going to be the main piece of the whole presentation on Middos. But for now, what we've done is number 2.1, established what's the definition of Middos. It's a measure of character. And a Baal Middos is a person who is able to measure, okay, what is the amount of anger I should be pretending to have, or savlanas I need to have in this situation, or where do I draw the line and move on? There's so many different areas that I have to do as a Baal Middos. And 2.2, we said, is that you can't teach Middos, really, it can only be taught, and that's coming from role modeling. If that's really true, then it really comes out the following. Almost any other form of teaching Middos to children is at the very least a distraction from the original. The original is role modeling, and that's putting all the emphasis on me, the adult, changing for the better. Oh, so all the work is on me. If we follow the, and I'm going to call it the artificial way of teaching Middos, that it's about correcting the child, disciplining the child, getting the child to behave, what I may be missing out on is distracting myself from the real thing. How do I change myself? How do I role model for this child? How do I help this child be in control of himself, as opposed to control him, the opposite? Control him with incentives on the carrot side and discipline on the stick side of the equation. So we're going to try and focus, for the most part, on Aseh Tov and not the Sur Mirah. The Aseh Tov is how do we role model to our children and help them role model Middos Tovos. To really close on this, I want to share with you, it's the last Tosfos, I think, in Daf Yud Gimel, in Gemara and Brachos, tells us that V'hayu ha'devarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha. What are the dvarim ha'eleh? What are these items that should be al levavecha, on your thoughts, on your mind, imprinted on your heart? We're going to use that for now till we get to what the word lev really means. Says Tosfos, it's referring to the context of the Shema Yisrael. It's referring to the Shema Yisrael itself. V'shinantam levanecha, repeat your children. Repeat what to your children? Yeah, we know it means Torah, but actually it's referring, says Tosfos over there, Daf Yud Gimel, right, last Tosfos over there, it's referring to Yichud Hashem and Avas Hashem. Those are the two main messages in the beginning part of Kriyat Shema. Tosfos actually adds also Yirat Hashem, which you have to really be medayek from. That's what Shema Yisrael is really all about. Yichud Hashem and Avas Hashem. Yiras Hashem is kollel inside the Avas Hashem. But putting that aside, these massive messages, Hashem, you're the only one. There's no other power. You are divine intelligence, and your divine intelligence fills the whole universe. There's not one element in the whole of creation that is not divinely powered by you, because Efes Zulasai, Lo Yelach Elohim Acherim Al Pana, I don't have any other powers in front of my faces. There are no other powers. All other powers are powered by you, Hashem. And that's what Hashem is telling me, to recognize Echad. It's all from one source. And love me, b'chol levavcha, with all your thoughts, b'chol nafshecha, with all your life, b'chol meodecha, with everything that happens to you, all your possessions, all your money, and whatever happens to you, whether it's good or whether it's not so good. V'ahavta, love me. Oh, those messages, claims Tosfos, is what is referred to, v'hayu ha'devarim ha'eleh. These messages are what should be al levavecha, on your thoughts. So V'shinantam levanecha, in the context of Kriyat Shema, is all about how do you and I, as parents and as teachers, role model for our children. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're the only power in my life, and I love you no matter what. I have awe for you, Yiras Hashem. And the answer is, it's not a lecture. It's who we are. The onus, the responsibility is not on me putting, you got to be a Yirat Shemaim kid. You got to love Hashem. You have to know Hashem's the only one. What the child is learning is from me as who I am. So that's number 2 of this. Middos can't really be taught. They are learned. And they're learned from role modeling. In a Bediavad situation, without the role modeling, they can learn it from stories of tzaddikim, which Chazal are replete with agadas of Yirat Shemayim and Simchas Achayim and Middos Tovos. Those stories can be a tremendous inspiration. Nothing, though, will ever substitute the real thing. Talmid Chacham. Who's the real Talmid Chacham in your life that you're a Talmid of, that you can say, I have an understanding of how to behave because I've seen it in my Rebbe, in my Mora, in my father, in my mother. So this means to say that the spiritual work of Middos is more of what I have to do as a teacher than what I have to teach you to do. That's where it's really at. In the words of Avi Shulman, who's a master educator, wrote many books, and in the days where there were cassettes, he was one of the innovators of self-help in the Torah world. Master educator, over 20 years in teaching in elementary, wrote a number of Sfarim, which are masterpieces. He borrows from a brilliant mashal, brilliant analogy, that a teacher is a salesperson by default. You're selling yourself. The children are buying into you. It's not just the information, they're buying because of you. If they like you, if you've built rapport and you have a relationship, they'll want to learn from you. If they don't like you, Chas v'sholom, or feel disrespected, or hurt, slighted, insulted, made fun of in any way, Chas v'sholom, then they're not going to want to learn from me because I've hurt them. I didn't show them respect. And according to Chazal, Pirkei Avos, Perek Dad, Mishnah Yud Beis, Yehi kavod Talmidecha chaviv alecha keshalach. The kavod you have for your student should be equal to the kavod you have for yourself. Oh, and even though the Mishnah doesn't quote it, the Vilna Gaon explains, he's always bringing on his Perush in Pirkei Avos the pasuk in the Torah, which this is based upon. It's based upon Moshe Rabbeinu's own instructions to Yehoshua, his Talmud. Bahar lanu anashim, choose for us men who are tzaddikim, kovesh et Yitzram, to go out to war against Amalek. Perek Yud Zayin in Shmos, Parshas Beshalach, Moshe Rabbeinu is putting Yehoshua on the same level. Yi kavod talmidecha chaviv alecha keshalach. The kavod you have for your student should be equal to the kavod you have for yourself. Wow. Oh, so that's very powerful. So claims Avi Shulman, you are a salesperson. And a customer is not just buying the product because of the value of the product. It many times is totally depends on the salesperson's integrity, sincerity, track record, relationship with that customer. That's where it's really at. And you have a massive advantage because you have a track record that goes back over 3,000 years of amazing resilience that Klal Yisrael has had in the face of the worst imaginable adversity, and we're still holding on to the same Torah, same mitzvahs, same kashrus, same Yom Tov, same Pesach, same Sefer Torah, same Sfarim, same Shulchan Aruch, same Rambam, same Gemara, same Mishnayos, same Chumash. Oh, you've got thousands of years of Jews keeping the Torah in the worst imaginable conditions throughout Galus of the last 2,000 years behind you as an engine that's moving this forward, that the Messiah will arrive when Mashiach comes with millions of Jews proudly wearing a yarmulke, covering their hair and saying, I light candles, I keep your Torah, I eat kosher, I put on tefillin, I keep Shabbos, Yom Tov. Wow, that's amazing after all these years of galus and expulsions and persecution and burnings and Inquisition and Cossacks and Tsarist Russia and Communist Russia and jihad and Hitler's Yamach Shemai Third Reich Nazism. We're still here. You have that, not just in your back pocket, in your pride of who you are. So you've got a massive advantage in selling to your children. But that's not what it's about. It's not about selling. It's actually exactly the opposite. As we say in Mishlei, I think it's Perek Beis Pasuk Aleph, Im B'ni, my son, Im Yikach Amarai, if you buy my words. The Torah is not about selling to the next generation. It's all about getting the next generation to buy into. And that means they have seen the worth, the value of what you're selling. And that's why they're buying. They're buying because of you, because they love you. They respect you because you respect them, you love them. But they're also buying because they see the relevance and the value of what you are representing. And that's really the most important two ingredients in a sale. Yes, in the non-Jewish world, in the world of advertising, I used to come from there, so I can tell you this, there are three ingredients. The first two are the most important, and that is the rapport that the salesperson has with the customer. The kesher. Vishinantam. You're smiling, you love your students. Chain, we said, is a lashon of connection. Oh, and number two, you're able to help them see the value and relevance of Yiddishkeit, of Torah and mitzvahs, our lifestyle. The Kedusha and the Torah that we come to, the Simchas HaChaim we're capable of having because we're not distracted by the stuff that's out there. We're going to get to that in some detail later on, but for now, the most important piece I'm bringing out is very simple. You can't teach Middos really, you can role model them. And that's the ikar over here. It really is. I'm not taking away from any program that's out there to attempt to teach Middos, but if we want to get to the guts of it and to penetrate deeply into the real soul of the child, the child is dying to trust their adults in their life. And where the adults are real to Hashem's Torah mitzvahs in their role modeling, as opposed to imposing it on you. You've got to behave, you've got to be a better kid, you're not behaving. The kid knows. I just have to help them see it for themselves. I'm not here to teach you as much as role model. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to help you convince yourself. Because when you're convinced, you'll buy the product. And that's ingredient number 3 in the sales formula. Number 1, build rapport. Number 2, demonstrate the value and relevance of the product you're selling. And number 3, sold. The customer will pay any price. He's not even listening what's the price. He's only asking you the price to know what number to put on the check and sign the check. That's the guarantee. Vishinantam levanecha does not mean teach as much as it means smile, connect, review, deepen, sharpen the mind of the child so they see, oh, I get what my Rebbe is about. My Rebbe is about me growing for myself, me growing in my relationship to Hashem and His mitzvahs and His Torah. It's not about me cooperating and just doing the right thing because I have to do the right thing. And I'm doing the right thing because I want to do the right thing. That's totally different. That's completely different. Selling versus buying, 2 universes apart. Even though the kid walks out like with a homework check and he's got a score A on his report card, that's nowhere close to when the child is so motivated by love for learning that even without the test, he knows, and he loves it, and he wants to remember it because he has a relationship with the learning itself. He has a relationship with the teacher himself. So that was 2.2. We're now up to 2.3. Very brief. The core mechanic of Middos is your mind. We mentioned this before, but this is really it. That is where Middos is. And once we know that, hey, it's much easier for me to pay attention to what I'm thinking. And this will bring us straight into number 2.4. And that is really the indivisible relationship between mind and emotion. We said it before, you only ever feel what you think. And therefore, because the two are inseparable, your emotions are a result of what you're thinking. The moment you think anger, you're going to feel it. The moment I think resentment, that's where the feeling of resentment is coming from. I'm feeling happy because I'm thinking happy. The world is such a brilliant dimyan, an illusion. It's such a brilliant olam hafuch. It's like inside out, upside in, backwards, upside down. It's so brilliantly designed to fool me into thinking that the real world is cause and effect. You hurt my feelings because of what you said. That's impossible. I'm hurt over here. It's what I'm telling myself based on what you said that's hurting me. It's not you yourself who's hurting me. It's impossible for you to go inside my mind and press my hurt buttons. I have to do that. And when I fall into the trap of thinking it's really you, who controls my life? Not me, you. Whoever you are, my spouse, my teacher, my Rebbe, my friend, my neighbor, my mother, my father, whoever it is. Middos is all about recognizing that everything we experience is really thought in the moment. And that if it's not working for me, what should I do? Change the thought. And that's really going to be the real darkish of this whole rest of the presentation.